If you're over 60 and you've ever woken up in the middle of the night feeling your heart pounding, or if you've noticed your blood pressure mysteriously climbing despite doing everything your doctor told you, what I'm about to share could genuinely change how you sleep, how you feel, and potentially how many healthy years you have ahead of you. You see, there's something happening in millions of bodies right now, something that conventional checkups often miss entirely. It's called nocturnal blood pressure surging, and it's exactly what it sounds like. While you're asleep, while you think your body is resting and recovering, your blood pressure can spike to dangerous levels without you ever knowing. And here's the troubling part. These hidden spikes are often more dangerous than the high readings you might catch during a daytime doctor's visit. I'm Dr. Sophia Reynolds, and I've spent over 2 decades in cardiovascular medicine watching patients struggle with blood pressure issues that seemed to resist every conventional approach. What I've learned in those years, particularly about what happens to our bodies after dark, has fundamentally changed how I think about heart health in my patients over 60. Before we dive into this, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I'd really encourage you to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another health tip designed specifically for you. And if you find this video helpful, please leave your questions and suggestions for future topics in the comments below. I read every single one, and it helps me create more content that actually serves people like you. Now, let me tell you about something that's been hiding in plain sight in kitchens around the world. An ingredient so common, so affordable, and so thoroughly researched that it almost seems too simple to be true. I'm talking about magnesium, but not just any form of magnesium, and not taken in just any way. The timing, the type, and the approach matter enormously, especially when we're dealing with those nighttime blood pressure spikes that can silently damage your heart, your kidneys, and your brain while you sleep. Let me start with a patient I'll never forget. Mr. Harold Patterson was 73 years old, a retired postal worker from Portland, Oregon. He came to see me after his wife noticed something alarming. Every night around 2 or 3 in the morning, Harold would wake up drenched in sweat, his heart racing. His daytime blood pressure readings were always borderline, nothing too concerning. 130 over 85, maybe 135 over 90 on a bad day. His previous doctors had told him to watch his salt intake and get more exercise, the usual advice. But Harold's wife Eleanor was a light sleeper, and she started noticing patterns. She'd feel him tossing, hear him getting up to use the bathroom multiple times. She said he looked gray in the mornings, not the vibrant man she'd married 50 years ago. When we finally did 24-hour ambulatory blood pressure monitoring on Harold, what we found was startling. During the day, his numbers were unremarkable. But between midnight and 4 in the morning, his systolic pressure was spiking to 170, sometimes 180. His body wasn't getting the rest it desperately needed. His cardiovascular system was working overtime during the hours it should have been recovering. "I had no idea," Harold told me, his voice shaking slightly. "I thought I was just getting older. I thought the tiredness was normal." This brings me to the first critical concept I need you to understand. Your blood pressure should naturally dip at night. We call people whose pressure drops appropriately during sleep dippers. It's healthy, it's normal, and it gives your heart and blood vessels a chance to recover from the demands of the day. But as we age, something troubling happens in many of us. We become non-dippers or even reverse dippers, meaning our pressure stays the same or actually increases while we sleep. The research on this is sobering. People whose blood pressure doesn't drop at night have significantly higher risks of heart attack, stroke, kidney damage, and cognitive decline. The nighttime hours, which should be healing hours, become hours of hidden damage instead. Now, here's where magnesium enters the picture, and why I've become so passionate about discussing this mineral with my patients over 60. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body. It helps regulate your heartbeat, maintains healthy blood vessel function, and plays a crucial role in how your nervous system shifts between the stressed state and the relaxed state. When you don't have enough magnesium, your blood vessels tend to constrict more easily. your nervous system stays on higher alert. Your body has a harder time transitioning into that peaceful, restorative state that should characterize healthy sleep. If you're still with me and finding this information valuable, I'd love for you to drop a comment below just saying I'm here, or share which topic you'd like me to cover next. It helps me know that this information is reaching people who need it. Let me tell you about Mrs. Dorothy Chen, an 81-year-old former librarian from San Francisco. Dorothy was meticulous about her health. She took her medications exactly as prescribed, watched her diet carefully, walked every day in her neighborhood. Yet she kept experiencing what she called morning headaches that had been gradually worsening over about 2 years. I would wake up and it felt like someone had wrapped a tight band around my head, Dorothy explained. My daughter kept telling me to mention it to my doctor, but I thought it was just tension. Maybe I was grinding my teeth at night. When we evaluated Dorothy, her daytime blood pressure was actually quite well controlled on her medication. But her morning headaches were a red flag that made me want to dig deeper. Sure enough, ambulatory monitoring revealed that her blood pressure was surging during the second half of the night, peaking around 5 in the morning just before she woke up. Dorothy's magnesium levels, when we tested them, came back at the low end of normal. Now, here's something important I want you to understand. The standard blood test for magnesium only measures what's in your blood serum, but 99% of your body's magnesium is stored inside your cells and bones. You can have normal serum magnesium while still being functionally deficient at the cellular level. This is particularly common in older adults because our ability to absorb magnesium decreases as we age, and many common medications, especially diuretics and acid reflux medications, can further deplete our magnesium stores. For Dorothy, we started a careful magnesium supplementation protocol, taken specifically in the evening about 2 hours before bed. Within 3 weeks, her morning headaches had decreased significantly. Within 2 months, follow-up monitoring showed her nighttime blood pressure spikes had smoothed considerably. I feel like I'm actually sleeping now, Dorothy told me at her follow-up appointment. Not just lying there with my eyes closed. But if you think Dorothy's story is impressive, wait until you hear what happened with Mr. Robert Williams, a 78-year-old retired electrician from Phoenix, Arizona. Robert had been on blood pressure medication for 15 years. He'd been through 3 different medications, various combinations, and he was frustrated. His daytime numbers would look acceptable, then his doctor would adjust something and they'd creep back up. He felt like he was on a medication merry-go-round that never stopped. I was taking 4 different pills every morning, Robert said during our first consultation. My wife had to get me one of those weekly pill organizers because I couldn't keep track anymore. And I still didn't feel good. I was tired all the time, my legs cramped at night, and I had to get up to urinate 3 or 4 times. Those leg cramps Robert mentioned caught my attention immediately. Nighttime leg cramps are one of the classic signs of magnesium insufficiency, particularly in older adults, and the frequent nighttime urination, while it has many potential causes, can also be connected to blood pressure patterns and mineral balance. When we looked at Robert's complete picture, including his nighttime blood pressure patterns, we found exactly what I suspected. His pressure was rising dramatically after midnight, often hitting 165/100 between 2 and 5 in the morning. His heart was working harder during sleep than during his daily activities. We worked with Robert's primary care physician to gradually introduce magnesium supplementation while carefully monitoring his other medications. The form we chose was magnesium glycinate, which tends to be better absorbed and gentler on the digestive system than some other forms. We started with a modest dose taken with dinner, then added a second small dose about an hour before bed. The results came gradually, but steadily. First, Robert noticed his leg cramps were becoming less frequent. Then he realized he was only getting up once or twice at night instead of 4 times. After about 6 weeks, follow-up monitoring showed his nighttime blood pressure spikes had diminished by nearly 20 points on average. For the first time in years, I wake up actually feeling rested, Robert told me. My wife says I'm not tossing and turning like I used to. I didn't realize how much that was affecting everything. Now, I want to be very careful here because I'm not suggesting magnesium is a replacement for blood pressure medication if you need it. What I am suggesting is that magnesium insufficiency might be an overlooked factor that's making your blood pressure harder to control, especially during those crucial nighttime hours. And addressing that insufficiency, under proper guidance, might help your body respond better to whatever treatment approach you and your doctor have chosen. Let me share another perspective from Mrs. Angela Martinez, 70 years old, a former restaurant owner from Austin, Texas. Angela's story illustrates something important about how we often miss the connection between our daily habits and our nighttime health. Angela had always been a coffee lover. Running a busy restaurant for 30 years, coffee was her constant companion. Even in retirement, she still had 3 or 4 cups daily, with her last cup usually around 4 in the afternoon. She also took a daily diuretic for mild blood pressure elevation and an acid reflux medication she'd been on for about 8 years. I never connected any of these things, Angela admitted. Coffee was just coffee. My pills were just my pills. Nobody had ever sat me down and explained how they all worked together, or in my case, worked against each other. Here's what Angela didn't know. Both her diuretic and her acid reflux medication were increasing her magnesium loss. The coffee, especially in the amounts she was drinking, was adding to that depletion. Meanwhile, as a woman in her 70s, her natural ability to absorb magnesium from food was already diminished. She was fighting an uphill battle without realizing it. Angela's nighttime blood pressure profile showed the classic non-dipper pattern. Her pressure barely dropped at night, staying nearly as high during sleep as during her active daytime hours. Her body never got that recovery window it needed. We took a comprehensive approach with Angela. We didn't tell her to give up coffee entirely, because that would have been unrealistic and unnecessary. Instead, we shifted her last cup to no later than noon. We talked with her gastroenterologist about whether she still needed the acid reflux medication at the same dose, given that she'd made significant dietary changes since it was first prescribed. And we introduced magnesium supplementation in the evening, starting low and building up gradually. The transformation in Angela over 4 months was remarkable. Her nighttime pressure began dipping appropriately, sometimes dropping 15 to 20 points below her daytime average, which is exactly what we want to see. Her energy improved. She reported feeling more mentally sharp in the mornings. I feel like I got 5 years of my life back, Angela said. I didn't know I was supposed to feel better than I did. I just assumed this was aging. If you're following along and this information is resonating with you, please let me know with a quick comment. It really does help me understand what topics matter most to you. Now, let's talk about something that surprises many of my patients: the connection between stress, magnesium, and those hidden blood pressure spikes. Mrs. Patricia Thompson, 75, a retired school principal from Chicago, Illinois, came to me with an interesting observation. My blood pressure seems fine when I'm at appointments, Patricia said, but my daughter bought me one of those home monitors, and the numbers are all over the place, sometimes normal, sometimes high, and I can never predict which it will be. Patricia was what we sometimes call a worrier. 40 years of managing schools had left her with a highly developed sense of responsibility, but also a tendency to lie awake at night running through problems, even problems that were no longer hers to solve. I'll be trying to sleep, and suddenly I'm thinking about whether my grandson is doing well in school, or whether my daughter is working too hard, or what would happen if something went wrong with the house, Patricia explained. I know it's not helpful, but I can't seem to stop. This chronic worry state was keeping Patricia's nervous system in a heightened mode, particularly at night when the quiet and darkness gave her mind nothing else to focus on. Her magnesium levels were being depleted by this constant stress response, and the depletion was making it even harder for her body to shift into a calm state. It was a cycle feeding on itself. For Patricia, we combined magnesium supplementation with some specific relaxation techniques timed to the evening hours. The magnesium helped her nervous system become more capable of relaxing, and the techniques gave her a way to actually activate that relaxation response. Within 2 months, her home blood pressure readings became much more consistent, and her nighttime values dropped significantly. The racing thoughts aren't completely gone, Patricia told me honestly, but they feel more manageable now, and when I do start worrying at night, I seem to be able to let it go more easily than before. Let me address something important that I know some of you are wondering about. Not all magnesium supplements are created equal, and taking the wrong form in the wrong way can lead to digestive problems that might make you give up before you see benefits. Mr. Thomas Anderson, 69, a retired engineer from Seattle, Washington, learned this the hard way. Thomas had read about magnesium benefits online and decided to try it on his own. He bought the cheapest form he could find, which happened to be magnesium oxide, and took a large dose hoping for faster results. I spent the next 2 days in the bathroom, Thomas admitted, slightly embarrassed. I figured magnesium just wasn't for me and I threw the bottle away. When Thomas finally came to see me for his blood pressure concerns, which included significant nighttime elevations, I explained that his experience was common but avoidable. Magnesium oxide is poorly absorbed and tends to pull water into the intestines, causing exactly the problems Thomas experienced. Forms like magnesium glycinate, magnesium taurate, or magnesium threonate are generally much better tolerated and better absorbed. We started Thomas on a glycinate form, beginning with a small dose and building up over a couple of weeks. He experienced no digestive issues whatsoever, and over time, his nighttime blood pressure pattern improved substantially. "I wish I'd known this years ago," Thomas said. "How much time did I lose because I tried the wrong type once and gave up?" This brings me to another crucial patient story. Mrs. Helen Garcia, 83 years old, a former seamstress from San Antonio, Texas, had been dealing with high blood pressure for over 20 years. She was on multiple medications and had accepted that her numbers would never be ideal because of her age. "My doctor told me that at my age we just try to keep things stable," Helen said. "Nobody ever mentioned that there might be something more we could do." Helen's daughter Maria had been researching natural approaches and asked me specifically about magnesium. When we evaluated Helen, we found she was indeed significantly depleted. Her diet, while generally healthy, was low in magnesium-rich foods. She'd been on a diuretic for many years, and she was taking a medication for osteoporosis that can also affect mineral absorption. We approached Helen's supplementation very carefully given her age and multiple medications. We chose a time about 2 hours before her usual bedtime, used a well-absorbed form in a modest dose, and monitored her closely. What happened over the following 3 months moved Helen's daughter to tears during one of our appointments. Helen's nighttime blood pressure, which had been consistently elevated, dropped into a much healthier range. But beyond the numbers, Helen herself was different. "Mama is herself again," Maria said. "She's sharper, she's more energetic, she's sleeping through the night for the first time in years. I didn't realize how much she'd lost until we got some of it back." Helen just smiled and patted her daughter's hand. "I thought I was just old," she said simply. "But maybe I was just missing something my body needed." Now, I want to talk about something that many people don't consider: the relationship between blood sugar, magnesium, and nighttime blood pressure. Mr. William Foster, 72, a retired accountant from Denver, Colorado, had borderline diabetes that he was managing with diet and one medication. His blood pressure had been creeping up over the years, and like so many of my patients, his nighttime readings were the most concerning. "I've been so focused on my blood sugar numbers," William said, "that I never thought about how everything might be connected." Here's what William didn't know. When blood sugar is elevated, the kidneys work to filter out the excess sugar through urine. In that process, they also flush out magnesium. People with blood sugar issues are often magnesium depleted as a result, and that depletion can make both blood sugar and blood pressure harder to control. It's another one of those cycles that feeds on itself. For William, addressing his magnesium status had benefits beyond his blood pressure. His blood sugar control actually improved as well, which made sense given magnesium's role in how the body processes glucose. His nighttime blood pressure spikes smoothed out, and he reported feeling more stable throughout the day. "Everything seems more balanced now," William observed. "I don't have those energy crashes in the afternoon like I used to, and I'm not waking up feeling like I ran a marathon in my sleep." Let me share one more story that illustrates an important point about patience and persistence. Mrs. Nancy Clark, 67, a retired nurse from Boston, Massachusetts, understood more about health than most of my patients given her professional background, but even she had missed some crucial connections. "As a nurse, I always focused on the medications, the procedures, the acute interventions," Nancy explained. "We didn't learn much about nutritional factors in my training, especially the subtle deficiencies that don't show up as obvious diseases." Nancy had started taking magnesium on her own after reading about it, but she gave up after 2 weeks when she didn't notice dramatic changes. This is a mistake I see often. Magnesium doesn't work like a drug that you take and feel within hours. It's replenishing stores that may have been depleted for years. It's allowing your body to gradually reestablish normal function. When Nancy came to see me and we discussed a proper timeline, she agreed to give it a genuine 3-month trial with appropriate monitoring. She was diligent about taking her magnesium in the evening, about an hour or 2 before bed, in a well-absorbed form. The first thing Nancy noticed around week 3 was that she was sleeping more deeply. She wasn't waking as often during the night, and when she did wake, she fell back asleep more easily. By week 6, her home blood pressure readings in the morning had dropped noticeably. By week 10, her follow-up ambulatory monitoring showed that her nighttime pressure, which had been a concern, was now dipping appropriately into healthy ranges. "I almost cheated myself out of this because I was impatient," Nancy reflected. "Sometimes the body needs time to heal." If you've made it this far in this video, I want you to know how much I appreciate you taking your health seriously. This is exactly the kind of proactive approach that makes a real difference in how we age. Now, let me give you some practical guidance based on everything we've discussed. First, talk with your doctor about ambulatory blood pressure monitoring if you haven't had it done. Those daytime office readings only tell part of the story, and you deserve to know the whole picture. Second, have an honest conversation about your magnesium status. Remember that standard blood tests may not reveal cellular depletion, so discussing your diet, medications, and symptoms is important. Are you on any medications that might deplete magnesium? Are you eating magnesium-rich foods like leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and whole grains? Third, if you and your doctor decide magnesium supplementation makes sense, be strategic about it. The evening hours, particularly 1 to 2 hours before bed, seem to be the optimal window for supporting healthy nighttime blood pressure patterns. Start with a modest dose of a well-absorbed form and be patient. This isn't about quick fixes. It's about giving your body what it needs to heal. Fourth, look at the bigger picture. What else might be affecting your nighttime blood pressure? Caffeine too late in the day? Chronic stress that keeps your nervous system activated? Blood sugar issues that might be depleting your mineral stores? Sleep apnea that's causing oxygen drops during the night? Sometimes addressing magnesium is one piece of a larger puzzle. Finally, don't accept poor sleep and morning exhaustion as inevitable parts of aging. So many of my patients have told me they assumed they were just supposed to feel tired and unrested at their age. That's not true. Healthy aging includes healthy sleep, and healthy sleep includes blood pressure that dips and recovers during the night. Mrs. Barbara Lewis, 79, a retired florist from Nashville, Tennessee, put it beautifully at her most recent appointment. After 3 months of working on her nighttime blood pressure through magnesium supplementation and lifestyle adjustments, her numbers had improved significantly. "I feel like I've been given a second chance," Barbara said. "Not a second chance at life, exactly, but a second chance to feel good while I'm living it. I didn't know that was still possible." That's what I want for everyone watching this. Not miracles, not false promises, but the genuine possibility of feeling better, sleeping better, and protecting your heart and brain during those crucial nighttime hours. Your body has remarkable healing capabilities when you give it what it needs. Sometimes what it needs has been missing for so long that you've forgotten what feeling well actually feels like. But it's not too late to remember. If this information has been helpful to you, I'd be grateful if you'd share it with someone else who might benefit. And please, talk to your own doctor about what we've discussed today. They know your individual situation, your medications, your health history. Together you can decide what approach makes the most sense for you. Before I close, let me tell you about one more patient whose experience captures something essential about this whole conversation. Mr. James Richardson, 76 years old, a retired bus driver from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, had been struggling with what he called mystery symptoms for years. Headaches upon waking, fatigue that didn't improve with rest, a general feeling of heaviness that he couldn't quite explain. "I went to doctor after doctor," James said. "Everyone checked different things. My thyroid, my heart, my blood. Everything came back mostly normal, maybe a little off here and there, but nothing that explained how bad I felt." When James finally had comprehensive blood pressure monitoring done, the pattern was unmistakable. His pressure was spiking dramatically between 2 and 5 in the morning, reaching levels that would alarm any physician. Yet by the time he arrived at his appointments, usually mid-morning, things had settled down to borderline readings that didn't raise red flags. "I wasn't imagining it," James said, his voice emotional when we reviewed the results. "Something was wrong. I just needed someone to look at the right time." James's story reminds me why I'm so passionate about this topic. Hidden nighttime blood pressure spikes are affecting countless people who don't know why they feel the way they feel. They're told their numbers are fine, when really the most dangerous numbers are happening while they sleep. For James, a combination of magnesium supplementation, timing adjustments to his existing medications in consultation with his primary doctor, and attention to his evening routine made an enormous difference. Within 3 months, his nighttime spikes had diminished significantly, and those mystery symptoms had finally found their explanation and their solution. "I feel like myself again," James told me. "I didn't realize how much I'd lost until I got it back." That statement stays with me because I hear it over and over from patients who've addressed these hidden nighttime patterns. They adapted to feeling unwell so gradually that they forgot what wellness felt like. And when it returns, even partially, the relief is profound. So if you've been feeling not quite right, if your sleep isn't restoring you the way it should, if you wake up tired despite spending enough hours in bed, please don't just accept it. Ask questions. Seek answers. Consider whether your nighttime blood pressure might be part of the puzzle. And remember, magnesium is just one piece of this. It's an important piece, one that's often overlooked, but it works best as part of a comprehensive approach that includes working with your healthcare providers, making sustainable lifestyle choices, and being patient with your body's healing process. You've given me your time today, and I don't take that lightly. I hope this information serves you well. Share it with someone you love who might benefit. Leave your questions and experiences in the comments below, and most importantly, take that next step toward understanding what's happening in your body during those crucial nighttime hours. Take care of yourself, be patient with your body, and never stop believing that feeling better is possible. I'll see you in the next video.